Okay, so today we're going deep into something pretty disturbing, honestly, but really important, and that's online extremism.
Right.
And it's not about, sensationalizing hate or anything like that. It's about really trying to dissect it to understand how it works.
Yeah.
And why it's so dangerous.
It's like it's kind of like studying a virus in a lab.
Okay.
You have to get in there and understand it before you can, actually fight it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
So the specimen we're putting under the microscope today is this YouTube rant. And warning to everyone listening, the language is really, really hateful.
Yeah.
Like, we won't be repeating the slurs directly, but you need to know, like, it is bad. Yeah. So this guy, Darren, he's the one in the video.
Okay.
And he's just going off on women with the most vulgar language imaginable. Like, just reducing them to sexual objects.
It's really common, unfortunately.
Is it?
With this kind of extremism, you see this kind of objectification a lot.
Interesting.
Where they try to deny women autonomy and respect and kind of put them in this lesser role.
So it's like they're trying to control the narrative, right?
Exactly. It's all about power and control.
Wow. And he doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
He goes after the LGBTQ community.
Right.
Uses all these slurs, and then he moves on to immigrants. Starts going on about this fear-mongering stuff, like they're all dangerous. The drug.
It's all about finding a scapegoat, right?
What?
Someone to blame for society's problem.
And it's never that simple, is it?
Never. The world's way more complicated than that.
But what gets me is how he's trying to position himself.
Yeah.
Like, he's not the bad guy.
Right.
He's just telling the truth,
It's classic. They always frame themselves as the victim.
Don't they?
The ones being silenced by the establishment or whatever.
So manipulative.
Totally. It's how they try to make people distrust authority and create this us versus them mentality.
And then people fall for it.
It's scary how effective it can be.
It is.
Yeah.
Because then it's like any nuance, any possibility of understanding just goes out the window.
Right. It all becomes black and white, good versus evil.
Exactly. Which is just not how the world works.
Nope. The world is much messier than that.
Exactly. So much more complicated.
Right. But that's how this stuff takes root. By simplifying everything.
Makes you wonder who's really pulling the strings sometimes.
Right. Like, who benefits from all this division?
Yeah. It's like they want us at each other's throats.
Exactly. Distracted and fighting amongst ourselves.
So while we're all arguing about this stuff, they're probably, off doing whatever they want.
It's a classic tactic, divide and conquer.
So he's throwing out these awful terms, making these sweeping generalizations.
Right.
About entire groups of people. And acting like he's some kind of brave truth teller. But what makes this dangerous is what makes this stuff so dangerous.
Words have power, right?
Of course they do.
They can shape how we think, how we feel, even how we act.
Right.
And this kind of language, it just normalizes prejudice.
Meaning?
Like, it makes it okay to discriminate, even to be violent.
Just because of someone's race, religion, sexual orientation.
Exactly.
It's like it gives people permission to hate.
In a way, it does. And even if you don't fully buy into it, that constant exposure to hate speech, it desensitizes you.
Like, it becomes normal. Exactly. It is terrifying.
It is. It's like a slow drip of poison. You might not even realize it's happening.
Wow. That's a good way to put it.
But over time, it eats away at your empathy, your compassion, your ability to see other people's humanity.
That's heavy.
It is. It's the danger of this kind of rhetoric.
So how does this stuff spread?
Right.
Like, how does a video like this even get any traction online?
Well,
is it just the algorithms doing their thing, or is there something more going on?
The algorithms definitely play a role.
Right.
But it's not as simple as just amplifying hate.
Oh, okay.
It's more about how those algorithms interact with our own psychology.
Okay. You're going to have to explain that.
Sure. It's like we as humans have this built-in desire for connection, right?
Totally. We're social creatures.
Exactly. And we want to feel like we belong.
Makes sense.
So these algorithms, they tap into that.
Interesting.
They learn what you're interested in and then show you more of it.
And that's not always a good thing.
Exactly.
Because if you're interested in, say, conspiracy theories,
right,
you're going to see more and more of that until it's like all you see.
It's like you're going down a rabbit hole. And the algorithm is leading the way.
It's like it's creating this whole worldview for you.
Exactly. And that's how you get these echo chambers online.
Where everyone's just agreeing with each other and making each other more extreme.
Right. They reinforce each other's biases and shut out any dissenting voices.
So it's not even just the algorithms themselves. It's how they work with our own human need to belong.
Precisely. It's like they're exploiting our desire for connection.
Which is kind of depressing when you think about it.
It is. It's like they're using our own instincts against us.
They make us more extreme, more divided.
And the scariest part is how this online world starts to bleed into the real world.
Oh, totally. Like
Yeah.
people taking these extreme beliefs and acting on them.
Exactly. These online spaces can become breeding grounds for real-world extremism.
Because they find other people who think like them, right?
Right. People who validate their beliefs no matter how extreme they are.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more extreme you get, the more accepted you feel.
And the more likely you are to act on those beliefs.
Which is terrifying.
It is. It's why we need to take this stuff seriously.
So where do we even start with something like this?
Well,
It feels so big, so overwhelming.
it's a huge challenge, no doubt. But I think education is key.
Like teaching people how to think critically about what they see online.
Exactly. Especially young people.
Yeah, they're the ones growing up with all this.
They are. So we need to give them the tools to navigate this digital world safely.
To spot misinformation and understand how manipulation works.
Right. To evaluate sources, to consider different perspectives.
And to engage in respectful dialogue, even when they disagree with someone.
Exactly. That's crucial.
It's like we need to teach them to be good digital citizens.
I like that. Good digital citizens.
Right, because it's not just about being online, it's about being a good person online.
Exactly. And that's something we could all benefit from.
Totally. I mean, think about how much crap we see online every day.
Right. It's overwhelming.
It is. And it's not just about hate speech either.
Right.
It's misinformation propaganda, all of it.
It's all designed to manipulate us in some way.
So we need to be more discerning about what we consume online.
Absolutely. More critical, more skeptical.
And more willing to speak up when we see something that's wrong.
Exactly.
But it's not just about individual responsibility, is it?
No, it's not.
The platforms themselves have to step up too.
They absolutely do. They have a responsibility to curb the spread of this stuff.
Which is tough, right?
Very tough, because
Yeah.
you have freedom of speech on one hand,
Right.
but on the other hand, these platforms are giving a megaphone to hate.
So how do you find that balance?
It's a constant struggle. But there are things they can do.
Like what?
Well, for one, they need better content moderation.
Like actually taking down the bad stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they need clear guidelines for what constitutes hate speech.
So everyone knows where the line is.
Right. And they need to be transparent about how they're enforcing those guidelines.
So it's not just happening in a black box.
Exactly. Transparency is key.
And they need to work on those algorithms.
Yes, that's a big word.
Like actually changing how they work so they're not creating these echo chambers.
Right, because right now it's like they're designed to divide us.
It was about engagement, right?
Exactly. They don't care what you're engaging with as long as you're engaging.
Which is a problem because hate gets clicks.
It does, unfortunately.
So we need to find a way to make empathy and understanding go viral.
Right. Imagine if compassion trended the way hate does.
That would be amazing.
It would change everything.
So it's not just about taking down the bad stuff, it's about promoting the good stuff too.
Exactly. It's about creating online spaces that are actually designed for connection and understanding.
Instead of division and hate.
Right. It's about building a better internet.
And a better world.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that.
Me too. It's a vision worth striving for.
It is. And it starts with us.
With all of us.
So for everyone listening,
Right.
think about this.
Yeah.
Have you ever encountered this kind of hate speech online?
Mm-hmm.
How did it make you feel?
Right.
How did you react?
Did it change how you saw the world?
Did it change how you saw other people?
These are important things to think about. It's easy to feel like, what can you even do? Right? Like it's this tidal wave of hate and you're just one person.
Yeah, it's easy to feel powerless.
But I like how you're talking about taking action.
Yeah.
About changing the actual structure of these platforms.
Mhm.
It gives me some hope, honestly.
Hope is good.
But it can't just be passive hope. We have to actually do something.
Okay, so we've talked about education.
Right.
We've talked about the platforms taking responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
But what about us?
Exactly. It comes down to individual choices, too.
Like what we do when we see this stuff online.
Right. What are you willing to tolerate?
Yeah, like, do we just scroll past it?
Right.
Do we get angry but not say anything?
Or do you actually do something about it?
So what can we do?
Well, sometimes it's as simple as speaking up. Like
Okay.
if someone makes a prejudiced joke
Right.
or shares something that's clearly misinformation,
We call them out.
you can. Or even just gently correct them.
Okay.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
And if it's something really bad,
Right.
like hate speech,
And you report it.
to the platform.
Exactly.
So they can take it down.
Right, because they don't always know it's there.
Right. They're relying on us to flag it.
They are. And you can also support organizations that are fighting this stuff.
Like the ones trying to make the internet a safer place.
Exactly. Because they're doing really important work.
They are. So it's like we have to use our voices to make a difference.
Exactly, because silence only helps the haters.
And it's like what we were saying before about the algorithms, right? They amplify things.
They do.
So if we amplify empathy,
Right.
if we amplify understanding,
Yes.
then maybe that will start to drown out the hate.
It's possible. It's like we can use those same algorithms for good.
Instead of evil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We just need to be more intentional about what we amplify.
It all comes back to choice, doesn't it?
It really does. Every click, every share, every comment is a choice.
So choose wisely.
Choose wisely.
Because we're all building this digital world together.
Whether we realize it or not.
Well said. Well said.
Thank you.
So we didn't go on this deep dive to bum everyone out.
Right.
Or to say that the internet is a terrible place.
It's not all bad.
It's not. There's a lot of good out there, too.
Right. But we have to be aware of the bad stuff, too.
So we can fight it.
Exactly. Knowledge is power.
It really is.
Yeah.
Even when it's uncomfortable.
Especially when it's uncomfortable.
So to everyone listening,
Yes.
think about what we talked about today.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the choices you're making online.
Right. Are you amplifying hate or are you amplifying hope?
Because every little bit counts.
It really does.
So that's it for today's deep dive.
Thank you for having me.
It's great having you. And to everyone listening,
Stay curious.
stay informed.
And stay engaged.
We'll see you next time.